Hello and welcome back to 2017. Not particularly a retro game, but this is kind of... We're joining Ninja Cleopatra here for kind of a retrospective. We've just had a look at Fall Guys. I've just done a quick Fall Guys video. But what... Yeah, I've got, well, I suppose I should say I'm working from home today. No, actually I've got a day off. I'm not working from home today. I'm answering a few emails, but it means I've got the living room to myself, which means that I can record to my heart's content on the PlayStation 4, which I don't usually get the opportunity to unless it's with Tilly for the Tilly Cat Kingdom YouTube channel, where we've been playing Fall Guys recently with that. We haven't done a broadcast of Lego Worlds. It's something I've always wanted to. I've always said, oh, let's do that. We kind of never get around to it. So here we are with Lego Worlds, and I kind of wanted to revisit this. I bought this. Well, so Lego Worlds this game was first released early access in 2015, and it was actually in early access for about nearly 2 years because it was released finally as a full game in 2017, and I bought a copy because I seem to have, I always forget how to drive these things. I did actually check the date that I discovered the first planet in this game, and it was at the beginning of 2018, so I must have bought it in the January sale. I'm not usually one to take a chance on completely random games unless they're in a sale, so I guess that's where I picked this one up. I do remember though it being a choice between this and another Lego game called Lego City Undercover, which I'll talk about in a minute anyway. And I bought this mainly because my daughter has just started to get into video games. She'd been playing mostly tablet, free-to-play games, and I wanted to sort of get off the tap games, as I've condescendingly referred to them as, and actually play something with a proper controller. Whether people agree with that or not, but no, I wanted to actually play a decent game. Whether you think this is a decent game or not is a matter of opinion, but we'll get into sort of the technical side of that in a bit anyway. So she would have just turned 7 actually. She'd been in 7 about nearly 7 for a few months when I first started playing this game, and oh my goodness, I'm obviously created a mountain world here. It's one of the things I must say I love about this game is when you encounter something that's just, oh, I wasn't expecting that, and you'll get that quite a bit of time, quite a lot in this game, which is really nice. So 2015. Now, the first Lego game I played, and I'm talking Traveller's Tales game, so this is by Traveller's Tales, and I'm going to land here I think. The first Traveller's Tales game I played was back on the PlayStation 2, and it was the Star Wars prequel, Lego Star Wars prequels game, which is an absolutely amazing game. I'll talk more about that in a minute when I get onto the mechanics of this game. I'm going to stick around here because I think that's absolutely fantastic here. But the Lego Star Wars game kind of kick-started what sort of became Traveller's Tales niche in the video games market, e.g. that let's basically take popular franchises that Lego was also making brick builds out of and make a video game out of them. And I honestly think that for those first Lego Star Wars games were the best of them. It then carried on, so you had, I remember Lego, was it Lego Indiana Jones? I vaguely remember. Lego Jurassic Park, we've had The Hobbit, we've had Lord of the Rings, The Marvel and DC superheroes are the big ones. You've had some of the other Disney properties like The Incredibles. Can I get this thing to actually drill? How do you drill with this thing? I've forgotten. I've got reverse. Oh, I figured out. Funny enough, I actually bought the Lego Hobbit game this last Christmas for a lovely present. I think that one not drill. Actually, I got that and Cyberpunk 2077, which I may look at today as well. Guess which one plays the best? Yes, I'm not going to get all anti-Cyberpunk 2077 too much, but to be honest, I think Lego Hobbit was a bit more polished. Anyway, that's kind of where the Traveller's Tales games have gone, and I personally think that they've kind of got into a bit of a rut. That's my personal opinion. I did enjoy. Oh, here we go. I did enjoy the Star Wars ones, like I said, but to be honest, I kind of gave up with a lot of the others. Just because they became a little bit samey. Now, those games are characterised by having sort of Lego minifigure characters of popular franchises, like obviously the Marvel and DC ones. But otherwise, they kind of play out like fairly traditional third-person action games. You know, they've generally pre-rendered backgrounds, and you can build. There's not a huge amount of Lego brick building. That has improved slightly, the amount of Lego brick building, but it's still really just building little mini kits and things. There isn't the novelty. I mean, the original Star Wars ones, I remember definitely feeling that, you know what, these are designed for adults. These really were designed for adults who were recapturing their use a bit, as well as for kids. And it was the kind of novelty of playing with these Lego little minifigures. It gave a sort of cartoon aesthetic to an otherwise quite serious genre. And fair dues, they did work very well as kids games because, yeah, they just had that sort of funny, sort of childlike aesthetic to them, and they're really accessible as well. I think the way I've said they overstayed their welcome. I played through Lego Harry Potter with my daughter, and I just felt that the puzzles were just feeling a little bit stale, and some of them didn't work so well in terms of the action content. I think the Star Wars ones, again, I keep praising them, but I think they were ultimately the best example of ones that balance that puzzle solving and action element. Harry Potter's less so. There's less action in those games. So I felt if I had a problem with those, it was a little bit too much of going through all of the stories and everything was solved by just literally just bashing everything and breaking it. There wasn't a huge amount of skill to it. Now, Traveller's Tales did take their franchise in two different directions as well. There was Lego Worlds There was also Lego City Undercover, which I keep on meaning to buy, but I know I'm never going to get around to playing it unless it was in a two-player, and I don't think until he wasn't that interested in playing it, to be honest. So I wasn't going to waste my money on something that I was never going to get around to playing. It's a little bit like Scribblenauts. I've still got Scribblenauts, the ultimate version for PlayStation 4 that I'm kind of trying to. I mean, I love the Scribblenauts games. Tilly hasn't kind of got into it in the way. I think she more prefers the chaotic stuff of moving out and Overcooked. Because of how much ranting goes on when you're playing those games, are the most frustrating things. And we play a lot of Fall Guys. But maybe we'll return to Scribblenauts. But I didn't want to waste money on Lego City Undercover. I did buy this though, because, not being stereotypical because she's a girl, but this is she was really into very much open world type games and sandboxy type games. Those sort of games she was playing a lot on the tablet and stuff. There'd be a lot of stuff like the Toca World games she was really getting into, and now actually she's into getting into Roblox and stuff. And this kind of fit the bill of what she was into, which is games aren't necessarily about following a strict linear storyline. They're about kind of making up as you go along and having fun where you're doing it. And so Lego Worlds, I've been playing around for it long enough for you to have noticed a few interesting things. One, it diverges from the other Traveller's Tales ones by the fact that literally everything is made out of Lego bricks. I mean, that sounds obvious in a Lego game, but if you played if you play any of the other Lego games, it's generally only the characters and some of the mini kits and things that are actually made out of Lego bricks. What I'll need to do is fast forward the time, which I can do now in this game. No, not the lantern, your Wally brain. This is kind of, I feel this is kind of unique amongst the Lego games. Here we go, look. And you can tell it kind of affects the camera. Normally in a game where if I move the camera around the character like this and something's away, bam, the camera would instantly zoom in on them like that. It doesn't, because what this game is interested in doing is rendering every single Lego brick within a particular radius of the character. And in some ways, yeah, I'll start with the technical stuff, because in so many ways this is why I felt, one, this wasn't entirely out of early access, and two, it feels like a tech demo in some ways, because there's some things you just would not be able to get. There's things you shouldn't be able to get away with in a polished game, and this is one of them. We've seen characters just vanishing behind things and you lose track of them. This is a game you've absolutely got to be quite forgiving with in that sense. And you would have also seen the draw distance and all this pop-up. Look, if I'm walking towards, and I'm sure something is going to appear in the background there. No, not necessarily. Oh, that's because I'm on the edge of the world. But if you see there, look in the distance. I mean, this is PS2 levels of draw distance. I can only assume it's because it's rendering all these Lego bricks. And that's kind of what makes this game unique, is that it literally is a Lego sandbox. And we can also do quite interesting things like this. Oh, I've got the wrong tool selected, but if I do the paint tool, yeah, I've got water. If I do that, I've changed that to water. Have I changed that to water? Oh, I just painted it, but I've painted it blue. Blue! Yeah. Bear with me. Ocean water. There we go. So, for example, if I paint the side of this house, I mean, this shows how wacky the physics are in this game. There you go. I've changed the side of the house into water. See, physics is non-existent in this game. If you want a physics-based game, you ain't going to find it here. This is one of those games where if I walked down to the sea, I'm nowhere near the water, but I'll show you maybe sometime, you can literally take a bazooka and blast a hole in the water. And it will just literally do that, and you'll have a great big empty hole in the ocean. It's not even trying to do realistic water physics. It's literally everything in this game is built out of Lego bricks, and they function without any sort of gravity. So look, there you go, look. So I've got sort of water hovering in the air now. And this also means, there you go, I can build things, and I can build things in mid-air. And with all the sort of the problems of some, and I can climb anything. There you go. Look at that. It's do anything, go anywhere. It's not. A lot of people compared this to Minecraft, I've heard. If you've played it though, it's nothing like Minecraft because there's no sort of mechanics. You can't do devices or contraptions or anything like that. There's no sort of coding elements. It is literally a Lego set with every single brick imaginable. What it is like No Man's Sky. This is No Man's Sky. As we'll see when we go back to the spaceship and maybe journey to a different planet. The idea is you have a galaxy of all these Lego planets. They're these just square blocks of planets. And they're all made out of these different biomes, and they're just put together in a hodgepodge that is the edge of the world. I just love that it's just completely unapologetically wacky. And odd things can happen. It's like this is an underwater world, but for some reason this biome has spawned above sea level. I don't know why. I think it's the game is no longer being supported, but it's still full of odd little bugs. But it's bugs like this that make these bugs that make it worthwhile. There's other bugs that don't particularly make it worthwhile, but some of these bugs are absolutely fantastic, and it just gives you all odd little things like, I don't know if maybe that was deliberate. Maybe that was deliberate. Who knows? But that's the idea. So what is the point of this game? There is no point. You run around and you can see, all you do is whatever world you're on, you find characters who offer you quests, like this guy. My pets have escaped, please can you help me find them all? He wants 5 grey cats. So I'm going to create, there we go, 5 grey cats. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's a she. She gives me an object, an apple. It also means once I've completed a quest for a character, it means I can also unlock them as a minifigure. And that is basically how the game goes. You travel from planet to planet, each with different biomes, solving quests. Some obviously characters want items that are only available on other worlds, so you can never do anything in this game in a linear fashion. This is a completely 100% non-linear game, and you literally don't know what's coming next. You could be solving puzzles in all sorts of different orders. There are different sort of quest lines to unlock, some much harder than others. See, is that a mouse? No, it's a squirrel that wants me to take a photo of it with a plant. And for that it'll probably give me, I don't know, a nut or something. That's pretty much how the gameplay works. We'll go, just going back to technical wise, if you can see here, it does, see, still get stuck behind stuff. Going into buildings is an absolute pain. I can go into zoom in, or you can go into first person perspective, and I have to say I can't show you now because I haven't got another controller to set up at the moment, but performance does suffer on couch co-op, which is a shame because couch co-op is really a great thing to play this game on. I think it's got slightly limited appeal as far as single player, but unless you really are into unlocking stuff, but actually it's journeying around all these planets with someone else and mucking around with them and blasting each other with bazookas and guns and dropping things on each other, and just, or yeah, you can conjure. Here you go. This is what you do if you want to wind someone up in this game, if you're playing with them. Just see what happens when you drop a Tyrannosaur into a town. And let's drop a Candy Dragon in. And just see what happens. They seem to be quite peaceful at the moment. Are they having a face-off? Who knows? Oh. There you go. And they start fight. That is the ultimate point of this. The game is a series of fetch quests with bad camera angles, and the other thing is it's literally a sandbox where, there you go. And there's no consequence for death aside from, there you go, I dropped that crystal. You drop a random item from your inventory and you lose a few coins. But otherwise there's absolutely no consequences. And there's even no consequences from destroying anything in this game, because to be honest, you could just recreate the world again from scratch and it's back to how it used to be. So yeah, I drove that drilling machine through the middle of the city and it doesn't make one jot of difference. What I'll do is let's get back to my spaceship. Oh, manta ray bomber. There you go, something different to fly. I can go over the trees. There we go. You can even fly up to the clouds. There's a castle up there on the clouds you can land on. It's all these sort of things. It's yeah, this is definitely a game about discovery. There you go. This shows up the draw distance of the game. It's kind of why I think there's definitely a tech demo quality to this. They will fix certain things. I think they just released in this state because this is definitely a niche game. If you can overlook things like this, if this doesn't faze you or bother you, you'll get a load out of this. Some things that were broken and never been fixed are things like there's one particular problem with the gold dragon, for example. I mean, the dragon quest itself is a good 10 hours work, I think. Unlock it, it's a huge quest chain. I mean, if you remember, see, I've actually overtaken the draw speed of the world. So I've crashed into the end of the draw distance. If you remember the things like the Gold Axe quest out of Animal Crossing Wild World, you might get an idea of what it is to unlock the dragons in this game. That was a pain in the neck, but worth it in the end, I think. Worth it in the end, absolutely worth it in the end. But the gold dragon can't be unlocked. It's there, but I can't capture it and copy it and recreate it in this mode, and I don't think I'll ever be able to. Let's do a bit of Mary Poppins. Their fix for that was actually to go, and there is a sandbox mode. It's called adventure mode because you start off with one world and then start procedurally generating all these other worlds. Let's choose a random one. Let's go here. I won't create one at the moment. But there is a sandbox mode. Now, it used to only have the items you'd unlocked in adventure mode. They fixed that just before they stopped supporting the game and they put everything in it. So I think they understood that there were some bugs in unlocking certain things in adventure mode, and instead of fixing those bugs, they took kind of the quick and easy route to the dark side, and they said, sorry, we're just going to unlock anything there in the sandbox mode. It's a bit of a shame. Fortunately, it doesn't actually stop you, as far as I'm aware, none of the bugs stop you from getting all the trophies. So if you're a trophy hunter for this game, which I actually am, even though it's probably the most grindy trophy run in history that I've ever done, I'm kind of dreading the last part of it. Is, let's just say, put on a good long podcast. You see what I mean by flying? Is you can't fly around in space, but this whole flying from planet to planet is absolutely 100% No Man's Sky more than anything else. And when you're generating these worlds randomly, you literally don't know what you're going to get when you get there. So there is actually, you could land on a planet and see here, I'm in the Wild West, but on the other side of the world could be the Antarctic and the tundra, and you can see there, look, the sea is made out of, yeah, I said I'd show you this demo with the sea. Every bit of the sea is made out of Lego bricks. Look at that. and I just drop into a hole. I'm on the seabed there. But there you go, nice little column of ocean there. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I love little touches like that in this game. It's not even trying to be reasonably realistic. Okay, let's go for a trip around this world and see what's here. It's kind of what it is. Yeah, if you're okay with fetch quests, like you go to a cowboy world and you find a cowboy that needs something that will only be gotten from the samurai world, and then you have to generate another world to find that, and then you go back to another cowboy world and you'll find that same NPC there and give him the item that he wants, and he'll give you something else that's used for another quest chain, la 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 la. That's kind of how it goes on. And oh, I'm not going to find a western town in here. I'm over the Crystal World. I think it's great just how many it's a good 100 or so, you could get a good 100 or so hours just literally unlocking everything and finding everything and having a pretty good time at the same time, just mucking around. I think I must have included almost every biome on this, because I've got, is that the autumn forest? Is this where you find the samurai? It looks like these cherry blossom type trees. Sometimes you don't necessarily know until you see the NPCs. And we've got another town, and these towns turn up randomly in it, and you can build your own buildings to go with it. I think of all the Lego games, this is the one I've definitely stuck with most, and it's the one that's been most fun with co-op, just because it's literally go everywhere and do anything. And if you're enjoying that, or if you've got a kid who likes that, this is a really good game, I think, definitely to play through together on co-op, just because it's like you're building stuff together and you're destroying stuff together and you're having a laugh and a joke. It's janky, it's kind of, it's actually, yeah, in some ways actually there's similar, that jankiness is good in the same way as the jankiness of Fall Guys is. It sort of it removes any sense of seriousness from this game, and it just literally becomes about having fun. And there's no consequences to mucking up in this game, unless you trigger a bug. But there's no consequences to mucking up something, and so if you see an NPC that's giving a quest and you kill that NPC, it doesn't matter, you can regenerate that world or another world and that NPC will be there happy as Larry. It is just a really great sandbox game. It's a shame about the technical glitches. The other thing I think is a shame for this is that Traveller's Tales never got licenses for so many things, so many of the other franchises, except the ones that live with Lego. Let's create, I'm going to create something that just kind of shows things off. Where's the Ninjago? They did some great stuff. Here you go, Ninjago. Let's create a bit of a Ninjago city here. Can I paste it here? Here we go. And it started building. Yeah. Although Traveller's Tales hold the licenses for all these franchises like Star Wars and Harry Potter and Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings, none of that appear in this game. You've got Ninjago, like I said, with the city. You've got one of the Ninjago cities. You've got several pieces of that, and Ninjago characters. So, see Cleo's arms. That's one of the ninjas. You can make all these little custom characters out of all these Lego bits that you unlock as you go along, or you can use. But as you can see from the characters, you haven't got any of the franchise stuff. You've got Nexo Knights, you've got these sort of secret agent ones, you've got Ninjago stuff there, you've got historical figures, you've got the space figures, you've got... So I guess you could create a sort of pseudo Harry Potter if you wanted, but or even some pseudo Star Wars stuff, but you would never be able to. I guess they never got the license to do the characters from any of those other. Okay, I had a little bit of a malfunction on the recording. I'll carry on where I left off. So yeah, I think the characters from the other franchises, I've kind of forgotten what I was saying because I recorded for another 10 minutes off. But yeah, I think it's a real shame that those characters don't appear in these games from the other franchises, which is all fine, but you're never going to have a proper mashup between Iron Man and Batman and Luke Skywalker and Voldemort going on. And I think that's a real shame, but that's the world of licenses and franchises. That's probably a more succinct way I said of it than I did in my last go recording this. So would I recommend this? Absolutely. I honestly think it's the best of the Lego games that Traveller's Tales have done, despite, I think, because of the jankiness and because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just about having fun. I think it's a step down for players of Minecraft. It would probably feel like a step down. On the other hand, if you like No Man's Sky and the freedom offered by No Man's Sky and one of those sort of open universe space games, this is absolutely it, just with Lego. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. I think the procedural generation is incredible on this game for what it is as a kids game, and for being relatively unpolished still and unfinished. I say this is just out of a beta testing. I must say my daughter never found anything wrong with this game though, and I probably because she didn't know any better. So well, if you're 7 or 8, you haven't sort of seen some of the most amazingly polished video games around. But I think it's a really good introduction for kids to this sort of open world mechanic, and just of what is capable in a video game, of just mucking around and having fun in this open universe, and just and exploring the sort of the visual literacy and controlling the literacy of controlling a video game and moving around and getting used to things like inventories and combat and things. Actually, it's a really good sort of no consequences introduction to video games in many ways, more so than other video games that are aimed at kids. And it's a lot of fun. It is. I think that's what some people will absolutely hate this game, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the first thing you're going to say about this isn't about its technical brilliance. It is just that it's about 100% having fun and having a laugh and just mucking about and just finding unexpected things. And it's kind of the potential of what an open world sandbox video game is all about. It's not about being competitive or building the greatest thing, but you can do those things in it. I love little things like this about just finding odd characters, and have I actually done these? Wow, that's a quest that I've never done. There you go, and I'll give her a laser pistol because I've got quite a few of them, and I think she was going to give me a candy dragon egg. There you go. And that's a good illustration of what all the quests are like in this game. You find one thing on one world and you give it to someone on another world. My biggest grumble about this is possibly some of the like I said, the bug fixes. Like, they fixed things by just unlocking everything in the sandbox mode rather than fixing the glitches that allowed you to collect the items in the adventure mode. And I still feel it's a real shame you don't have access to all the other franchises. Otherwise, you can pick this game up for chump change, and I really think you could, if it clicks with you, you're going to get a lot of gameplay out of this. A lot, especially, I mean, it's made for couch co-op, even though you obviously get performance you do get performance jitter with it on occasion. The drawing pop-up's a bit slower. But again, you know, you can have, it's one of those games where you can sit down with someone and play this, especially if you've got a kid. You're sitting down with them playing it, and you'll look at the clock and like 2 hours have passed and you haven't noticed it. And I think that's a real sign of a great co-op game, and especially one that, it's the Seinfeld of video games. It's a game about nothing aside from unlocking more Lego bricks. And you know what? I think I'm going to leave it there with. I think this isn't This isn't Clio. I think this is Promethea that I created from Alan Moore's Promethea comics, and I'm going to leave it here. Okay, take care, guys, and hopefully this one has recorded. See ya.